Hello, and welcome to the Week 5 devlog for QuiVr, formerly my HTC Vive archery game. Before I explain the dramatic change in scenery, I'd like to thank everyone on the Reddit thread for all their feedback in picking a name. As well, in last week's video, I asked for tips for Steam Greenlight submissions for VR games, so thanks to everyone who gave me info on that. I'd also like to give a special thank you to Skyline Monkey, who made all of the other info irrelevant as he provided a link that led me to being able to bypass the greenlight process entirely and get a Steam app ID for the game. This turn of events has completely changed my plan of attack for developing the game. I had originally planned on continuing with the then current scene and releasing a playable demo, which would hopefully improve the game's greenlight popularity. This would have required me to optimize a soon-to-be unused scene, as I knew I didn't want that to be in the actual game area. So, instead I decided to upgrade the project into Unity 5.4 beta with better VR optimizations so that I could use Valve's recently released lab renderer. I also decided to rebuild my codebase so that it no longer used hard-coded systems which made additions difficult. That also allowed me to update the version of the Vive interaction package from GitHub that I was using, which has made some great improvements in the recent weeks. All of that should lead to a better performing and more extensible project in the coming weeks. I still want to get a playable build out to people, and I think that what I'll do is create a small sample scene in which to play with the archery mechanics and have a simple enemy system to test on, just not yet. So, now let's dive into version 0.2. First, you'll notice the scenery has changed pretty dramatically. We now have a much more realistic terrain, rocks, and buildings. I've also set it up in a way that I can have a story mode. I have this really cool DirectX grass shader that works in VR with a minimal performance compared to the standard foliage options, although I am using a number of kind of speed trees that are in Unity just to give the area a more lively feel to it. Unfortunately, Lab's Valve rendering system doesn't have a material for terrains, which means I can't use their shaders, and I can't use their shaders and also have shadows on the terrain from enemies, from any dynamic objects at all. I can do light mapping, but I really do want the enemies to kind of put a shadow over you, and if they don't have shadows on the terrain, it kind of breaks that effect. If anybody knows a way to use Valve's shaders in conjunction with terrain, please let me know. So, mechanically, the bow is pretty much the same as the previous version in regards to mechanics, although the code is much cleaner, and actually now it's just a modification of the vanilla archery system I helped add to the GitHub project. The arrow notching is straight from the project as well, although their flying and impact code was again rewritten from scratch to use event systems for collision and real physics for flight mechanics. Also, the game can't be called QuiVr without one to use. So, this is a result of people who are asking to be able to draw arrows from places other than your back. And the way it works is, you pick it up using the grip button, and then you can place it somewhere on your virtual body, like that. When you release it near you, it'll stay in its position, following the movement of your headset, but ignoring rotation except for yaw. And you can grab an arrow from it using the trigger. So the general idea is that if you put it on your back, it works exactly like the original system. And I'll do that by taking it, putting it on my back, like that. And same as the old system. Where'd it go? Oh. There we go. Still working on just figuring out the right collision sphere to grab arrows out of, so that if it's right here, you're not screwing with the physics too much. So this is a work in progress, but I think it works pretty well. You can't attach it to your bow. I know people are going to ask that because of a number of YouTube videos that talk about holding arrows in your bow hand, because a spawned arrow at your bow would immediately snap into the notched position, which defeats the purpose of being able to grab arrows in the first place. They might as well just spawn on your bow. But you can put it anywhere else, and even drop it on the ground if it's far enough away from you. Snap it onto your hips area, wherever you want on your body, right or left-handed, anywhere on your back. If you would like to have it in your chest, that's fine, although it'll probably screw with your aiming a bit. So I'll keep it right on my hips for now. The teleport mechanic has changed as a result from a suggestion in a YouTube comment. Instead of pointing at a node that you want to teleport to and pressing the touchpad, now you just shoot an arrow at it. On a successful hit, you'll teleport there. So, oops, it was a little light. And now we're up here. I've also added a menu here that can be added by hitting the application menu button. And this will be the pause menu for the game, although currently it's set up as more of a debug menu now. When it's open, it snaps to your current gaze location, but stays where it is if you move your head around. So you can bring it up, but then it's there in physical space. And one interesting thing you can do is shoot an arrow into it. So you interact with it using your controller as a pointer and pulling a trigger on the button. This allowed me to replace a dedicated return bow and quiver if you accidentally drop them, and that lets me not use up the grip button as that hopefully rarely used feature. The way they work is if I threw that away and that away and hit return bow and quiver, they teleport right to you. Oops. So put the quiver back. And that the way it works is it doesn't matter where they are, they will teleport there and not be active. So if you're holding a bow and you hit the return bow and quiver, they still drop right there. So and I'll show you guys some of the other buttons in a little bit. Actually, we'll go back to this menu in a second. Another huge addition that I've added is the Blacksmith. So, if we teleport to the Blacksmith, this is going to be the hub between missions. It's where you'll modify your bow and quivers, upgrade arrows and towers, etc. None of that has been implemented yet, but I've kept everything really modular, so adding those systems in should be fairly straightforward. Also, I think every single hub area in VR should be interactive, so all of the little small objects around are totally physics interactive. They're all just fun little objects. And because this was so much fun, it's so fun to play around with these little objects, not for any game mechanic reason, but just it's fun to throw things around. I will definitely be adding them into the defense areas as well. I have the sword and shield, which are interactive, but they are not going to be used in combat. They are just for show, and I may just remove them from being interactive because I don't want people to get the idea that eventually melee combat is going to be in the game, because right now that is absolutely not the plan. But you can throw objects around, play frisbee with the shield. And then right now there will be a menu that you can interact with, but right now we have this ball is using just an HDRI map, but eventually I'll take a 360 panorama of the top of the wall to use there, kind of like the lab's teleport system. So if we put our hand into it and just pull the trigger, we will teleport up to the top of the wall. From here at the top of the wall, we can see the start area that we started the video in, and that's my attempt at appeasing the requests for a zone at the ground level. I want this to be an archery game, not a full medieval battle simulator, so keeping you out of melee range right now is a requirement. This should let you experience the scale of bigger enemies from a different perspective, but I have yet to decide how to justify them not squashing you like a bug. Additionally, I needed a way to justify enemies at all, so hopefully without spoiling anything in the real game, I can show you the portal. So, let me get a little closer here so you can get a better look at it. So this will be the portal that the big bad guys come out of and try to siege your village from. Also, I've begun re-implementing the enemy system, so let me bring us back down to the, oops, that's definitely not going to make it, the base here. It's not as functional as, the enemy system is not as functional as it was last week since I've been building it up from scratch, but it is tremendously more modular, so adding a new enemy just takes as long as setting up the ragdoll for its 3D model. In rebuilding the system, I've also made sure to include a modular armor and weak spot system. So let me bring up a little kobold here. Okay, so there are 4 types of damage zones right now: pure armor, low damage, normal, high damage, and extra damage. Pure armor registers an impact and can affect the enemy in a particular way but will not do damage outright. Low damage zones do 50% damage, normal 100%, high zones do 150%, and extra damage is 200%. This is all completely modular based on arbitrary colliders on the enemy, so shooting up the nose or into the eyes of a boss is a totally viable strategy as long as I put the extra damage colliders there. Also, I've added a mechanic lifted from Valve's Longbow game. Let me see if I can do this right. Yeah. Where predefined armor pieces can be shot to expose the body. I've also implemented the ability to shoot the weapon. Oops. If I can hit it. I hit him. There we go. So you can hit the weapon out of a humanoid enemy's hands. Obviously, you can't shoot the claws off a creature. And that will affect its damage if it reaches the wall. So it keeps track of whether or not it currently is holding its weapon there. And so that works like that. I would like to show you guys 2 more enemies that I've created. The first is a chimera, which is just an idea of the type of model and rigid body and ragdoll systems that we can use now. And this one has 2 heads, so the extra damage gets applied to both of the heads, as well as the snake on the tail. I need to work a little bit more on the ragdoll for this particular model, but we definitely don't need to just have humanoid enemies. And to really prove that point, let me spawn the skull, which I think is my favorite enemy type that I have planned here, just because the model is so fantastic. And shooting it out of the sky is so incredibly rewarding to watch it fall out and bounce around on the ground. So this coming week, I'll be adding a lot more enemies and building their system so that they begin to siege the wall. If I didn't mention it, but if I spawn a little kobold here, one of the YouTube comments, I think, or it may have been a Reddit comment, talked about seeing the health. So I've implemented the system where a health bar pops up when their health changes and then fades over time accordingly. And that can also be dynamic for if bosses, I want to see their health the entire time, regardless of if it's changing. I can have the health bars stay up or fade into the background over time if damage isn't being done. So, and that's just to keep the scene from being too cluttered with UI if there's a horde of enemies coming at your gate. I think that's about it for this week. A lot of the week has been spent creating the scenery. We have some really, just missed that one. Really great textures and terrain systems, and I've been working really hard to keep it optimized as well as looking really pretty. These rock textures, I did not make them myself, but they look fantastic in regular 2D games, and in VR and 3D, they're just kind of incredible. You really get a sense of massive rocks right around you. So that's about it for this week. I'm excited to continue working on this, and I look forward to hearing your guys' thoughts on this. I will probably have the Steam store up. I'm planning on doing early access, but not yet. It's definitely not ready for that. I'll probably have a playable demo a good couple weeks before any early access is available. So I don't want this to seem like a cash grab or anything like that. But I do want to use it for feedback for the game. So that's it for this week. As always, I appreciate any feedback you guys have, either in the YouTube comments or the Reddit thread that will be in the bottom of the description, or you may find this on Reddit, in which case you have found the Reddit thread. I appreciate you guys watching the video, and can't wait to hear your feedback. So thanks!